Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss, to celebrate two Batman films. Because, Brittany, as you probably know, or you may not know, the month of June has featured five Batman films over the years, six if you count The Flash, which The Flash was a very Batman heavy film. It brought Michael Keaton back. It featured three Batman in the movie. So I'm counting it. So six Batman movies over the years have come out in June. And of course, we're in the summer of Superman, but June has belonged to the Dark Knight. So we're here to talk about two of those movies. We're celebrating some big anniversaries. We're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Batman Forever and the 20th anniversary of Batman Begins, which that's behind me. You have Forever behind you. So got the visual aids and everything ready to go. So Brittany, we're going to start out with Batman Forever. I'm going to hit you with some Batman Forever facts, then we'll get into it.
The best
of these two, you think? Really?
I mean, let's just talk. Just go.
Okay, here we go. Okay. So Batman Forever, released on June 16th, 1995. It's the third installment in the Batman film series. Runtime 2 hours, 2 minutes. Box office 336 million, which made it the second highest of those four movies that came out prior to the movie I really want to talk about, Batman Begins. The budget, $100 million. Director Joel Schumacher. Tim Burton directed the first two movies, Batman and Batman Returns. But Joel Schumacher took over in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Tim Burton does have a producer credit, though he doesn't really have much to do with the movie. We'll talk about that. Writers Lee Batchelor, Janet Scott Batchelor, and Akiva Goldsman. And the cast features Val Kilmer, Tommy Lee Jones, Jim Carrey, Nicole Kidman, Chris O'Donnell. Drew Barrymore is also in this movie. And Brittany, I don't know if you caught this, but did you notice one of the assistants for Val Kilmer is none other than Jon Favreau?
No, but you know what? That trivia does ring a bell. I feel like I've read that or heard that somewhere before, but even on the rewatch, I did not pick that up. Wow.
Jon Favreau, yeah, he was like one of his right hand men. Like whenever he goes to talk to Edward Nygma's boss, yeah. So
okay.
Anyway, so Brittany, let's talk about it. This movie came out in 1995. How old were you in 95? And do you remember seeing this movie back then?
So in June of 1995, I was 7 years old. I was 7 years old. Six. 1989. 6. Yeah. I was 6 years old. And I did see this movie in theaters. I saw it with my brother, who is my older brother. And there was a cinema near our house. And I really wanted to see this movie. But more than anything, Justin, I wanted to see this movie in the front row. I don't know why. Hindsight 2020, really a bad idea, because the entire time I'm sitting there watching this movie and I'm like, oh my God, my neck hurts. So, but 6-year-old me, my brother was the kind of person, and still is the kind of person, who would probably do anything for me. And we have a very special bond, and we bonded, of course, through movies, our love of Jim Carrey, our love of Batman. And this was one of the first movies that I can remember watching in the theaters. I have very, very few memories of watching movies in theaters, but this one really stands out because it was huge for me. It was Batman, front row, Nicole Kidman in, I don't know why that memory lasts for me, but Nicole Kidman, like in the bed sheets. And I'm just like, why is she like just wearing bed sheets? Like, this is very odd. Hello. But anyway, yeah, I love this movie. I absolutely love the movie. And even when you were listing all the actors, you said it in the order that was the trailer, the commercial trailer. I remember it distinctly. Like I remember Mr. Movie Phone, if you will, saying the name Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, Jim Carrey, Nicole Kidman, and Chris O'Donnell, Batman Forever. It's like, I remember that commercial so vividly in my mind. And I love this movie. It's not a great movie. Like, let's just put the cards on the table. Not a great movie, but it is a great movie in my mind and in my heart. It's one of my favorites. I didn't need to rewatch this movie because I know it pretty well, but I did rewatch it just for this pod specifically.
And I appreciate you doing that. So in 95, I was 15 and I was all about this movie. I love this movie. I saw it opening weekend. I remember when all the stars of the movie were like on the Tonight Show, Jay Leno. Like I would stay up to watch that because
Okay.
Kilmer was on there and Nicole Kidman and all these people. So
Right.
I was in the movie. The movie did really well. I remember it was like
Yeah.
a box office smash opening weekend and made a bunch of money that summer. There's a lot of things about the movie, obviously the soundtrack we'll get into all that stuff. But when I think about this movie, it's just pure nostalgia. The first thing I think about that pops in my mind when you say Batman Forever are the McDonald's glasses. And Brittany, we have some visual aids for those who are watching this on YouTube. Glasses, they were 99 cents at McDonald's, right?
What a time for
These
glasses to be 99 cents.
They are so well made. They are so detailed the way they're carved and like, like you have one's Batman, one is a Riddler, one is Robin, one is Two-Face. My family, we only had the Batman. I think we had 3 Batman cups, and we still have them to this day. It's at my parents' house, and
30 years later.
those cups have been used, have been washed in the dishwasher for 30 years, and they literally look brand new. They are incredible. I did a little bit of research. I'm sure you can find them on eBay, but people are selling them on Amazon for like $25. So if you're a
Wow.
fan of Batman Forever, you definitely got to get one of these cups because I mean, to me, honestly, it is like the number one memorabilia item from this movie. There's a funny meme online. People post like when someone asks to see my fine china, I show them the Batman mug from Batman Forever. They are really so cool. Like it's hard to see in the image we have how
Oh
detailed
my
they are, but there's
God.
so much detail. Like the handles are all different and like the
Mhm.
designs are all different. But yeah, we only had the Batman, but I mean that's the one we wanted most. But
I vaguely remember these. I don't know if we actually owned any of them. If we did,
yeah.
uh, I would hope it'd actually be the Riddler because
Mhm.
for those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Brittany. I love Jim Carrey. He's my
Yeah.
favorite comedian of life, and I loved him in this movie. So I personally hope that we would have had the Riddler
Yeah.
as the glass. But my fine china, Justin, just for a little tidbit,
Mhm.
were the Hercules plastic plates that were sold at McDonald's when the animated Disney Hercules movie
Okay.
came out.
Gotcha.
The 90s was a great time for merch, right? You had the
Yeah.
Wild Wild West sunglasses that Burger King sold. You had this for McDonald's. You had the Disney plates for McDonald's. Like there was just a lot of cool merch that you could
Yeah.
get from fast food joints that they just don't do that anymore. Sidebar, I
They
digress.
they do it a little bit, but it's not to the same level. Like that used to be
No.
such a big part of a summer blockbuster, and
Yeah, it
it's
was.
like I talk about Superman a bunch. Like Superman has a promotion going with Dairy Queen, but there's no collectibles with that. There's just like
See, that's a
there's a
waste.
there's a Superman Blizzard, which I actually had a few weeks ago, it's pretty good. But there's
You know
not like
what?
a collectible cup or anything. Yeah.
I'm a native Texan. I've never had a Blizzard.
Oh wow.
It's very sad. I know.
That
And
is
there's a Dairy Queen like down the street from me. Anyway,
that is very
again,
strange.
sidebar.
Very strange news.
I know.
And something else, the second thing I think about when this movie pops in my mind is the logo. The logo for this is really impressive. Brittany, you're a graphic designer.
Yeah.
What do you think about the logo with the Riddler question mark, kind of around the bat symbol?
Yeah. And I wish I actually uploaded it here to our pod, but
Well,
it will be.
It's in that cup photo. If you go back to the glass.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Let me get back to it. Yes. So this lovely green and blue and black logo that Justin's referring to if you're watching here on YouTube. Also, watch us later, right? Come back, if you're maybe listening to us on Spotify, but watch the video too. So this logo, I feel like it's one of those really underrated logos that the marketing just they more or less teased it, I guess, with like the teaser photo or
Yeah.
posters, but it's not the actual like quote logo that was used for like the movie poster and what have you. It's more of just text that says Batman Forever. But I feel like with this visual, it's so good because you have the duality of Batman, like kind of here represented in the blue because like you look at the bat signal and yes, it's like a white light, but kind of gives off like a blue sort of tint. The Batmobile itself has like blue hints on the tires or the I don't know if you call them hubcaps, but anyway. But then the obvious green for the Riddler. The question mark itself is the calling card of the Riddler. I think it's a really great looking logo, and I wish it was used more throughout the promotion of this movie. But it's I think it's great. I love how the bat Batman logo fits perfectly into the open
Yeah.
space of the question mark. And I think it's just it's a great use of space, like negative space being filled, but it's not like too overpowering. So
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's awesome. Quick, Justin, shout out to those in our chat today. We've got King B. Johnson, who is always there for us. We appreciate you always being here. Yesenia, appreciate you as well as Trisha. Trisha just want to jump in and show some love. Absolutely love this movie. She says it's iconic. And she also remembers the cups, it seems. These collectible cups are fire.
Yeah.
Love these, and the Flintstones ones like this. I forgot about the Flintstones ones. Thank you for for
Yeah.
unlocking that memory.
Yeah, no, the cups are awesome. If you can get your hands on one, definitely do it. Don't break the bank to get one, but they're worth it. Like it's insane they were only 99 cents. Like it's crazy they were 99 cents for I think it's
Yeah.
like you had to get like a extra value meal and then add 99 cents to it or something. Or maybe they were just 99
Yeah.
cents by themselves. I don't know.
I
It
think
was
they would have
crazy.
just been 99 cents by themselves because like you
Yeah.
just got your meal and then it was like, oh, for an extra dollar, you could, get
Yeah.
this. And like, of course, inflation was not where it is today. But man, the 90s, such simpler times, such great times. I
Yeah.
want to go back.
I want to shout out Yesenia's comment saying before the popcorn bucket. Yeah. And
Hmm.
Yesenia, I have purchased a lot of popcorn buckets the last couple of years, and with Superman coming out, I'll be purchasing a lot more popcorn buckets, hopefully, if I can get my hands on them. So we shall see about that.
Can we insert the Michael Scott gif of I declare bankruptcy?
Yeah, I will
That will
be
be
declaring
Justin by
that.
the end of the
Yeah,
summer.
yeah.
End of summer.
By mid June. I mean, I'm sorry, mid July. I'll be. Yeah, I'll need some money. So
Oh Lord.
anyway, but this movie, I loved this movie when like I said, when it came out, but it's a movie that like I stopped watching pretty quickly. Like I remember we had it on VHS after it came out, it went to VHS, but I can't remember. I can't tell you the last time I saw it before rewatching it for the pod. And I was kind of like had some trepidation. I was like, I wonder if this is very good because a couple of years ago I tried to watch a Batman 89 and I mean, I watched it all and I love that movie when it came out, but it was kind of a tough watch. And then a couple of years ago, we reviewed Batman Returns for during Christmas
You
time. No,
you better
I
not
liked it.
besmirch the
No,
name of Batman Returns.
I liked it. I liked it.
Okay.
But rewatching this movie, I was surprised at how good it was on the rewatch. Like
Yeah.
I enjoyed. I mean, it's not perfect. There's a lot of silly stuff,
Oh,
and
of course not.
this movie, it gave us a new Batman, gave us a new director came in.
Yeah.
And with that new director, he kind of had a new tone, whereas Tim Burton was dark and kind of
Dark,
serious.
gritty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you had Joel Schumacher, who was bright and colorful and trying to bring back the '60s show Batman to the screen. He had neon lights and all kinds of stuff. He had Jim Carrey. Of course, those movies back then, they were always about the villain. Like the first
Yeah.
one, Batman was Joker heavy.
Yep.
Batman Returns was Catwoman and Penguin. Then, you had Joker and you have Riddler and Two-Face in this movie. And then in Batman and Robin, you had Mr. Freeze played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then you had
Oh,
Poison
we don't talk
Ivy
about that
also.
one.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that one.
We probably won't be talking about that one. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I was surprised. It was an enjoyable rewatch, better than I expected, honestly. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool scenes. We're gonna get to some of that stuff. But I want to say one of my nitpicks about the movie
Mm.
is the fact that it's the third movie, but they called it Batman Forever. And I'm around this time in 1995, just kind of jump in the time machine. At this time, Michael Jordan had already come back to play for the Bulls, and when he retired, he had won 3 titles in a row. Right when he came back, Nike had this campaign saying "Back for more," and it was like back number 4, more.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of like a little headline, and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
well. Then, like when Batman Forever came out, I was like, it's the third movie. Why would you? And not that they spell it like the number, but I was like, that's a weird. Even back then, I was like, why would you call this one Batman Forever? Because in this movie, you introduce Robin. And then the next one's called Batman and Robin. This movie could have been called Batman and Robin. And then the fourth one could have been called, because you introduced the Batgirl in Batman and Robin. That could have been called like the Bat Family or Batman Forever or
The
the Bat
Bat
Family
Family.
Forever. Well, the Bat Family is a big thing in the comics for Batman.
No,
So
I know, that just sounds silly.
yeah, but also it's weird because the uh whatchamacallit, the Martin Lawrence and Will Smith franchise, Bad
Oh,
Boys.
Bad Boys
The 3rd Bad Boys movie was Bad Boys for
for
Life, and it's
life.
like,
Yeah.
what are y'all doing? Like,
I
it
mean, so in this movie, you see
yeah,
a moment, of course, where Bruce Wayne, Batman, is struggling between the two identities. He declares Batman is no more up until he's forced to be Batman, and he
yeah,
tells Riddler in the climax of this movie that he chooses to be both because
right.
Gotham needs both, and that therefore is the title Batman Forever because he is going to be both. So I mean I understand your point, of
Yeah,
course,
right.
how there is a movie that follows this movie, but it's not. That's not what it's supposed to
I
mean. It
understand
wasn't
that.
like the
I
prequel
understand.
final.
I get it, but, like,
Yeah.
to me, that is, like to me, you should call it if it's Batman Forever, that should be, like, the final thing or something,
No,
like, it
I
just
get it.
doesn't
I get it.
yeah. Um, yeah, so King B says, "Joel Schumacher had more sugar and spice than Tim Burton, and they were iconic for us today, '80s and '90s." Yeah, I mean, they both brought, a different, different flavor to the movies, and,
Yeah.
I mean, the movies were enjoyable except for Batman and Robin. Like I said, we were not gonna talk about that one. But, so let's get to the cast, and let's talk about so this movie brought us a new Batman. Michael Keaton played Batman in the first 2 movies. He chose not to reprise the role once Tim Burton was kind of told actually, Tim Burton wanted to do a 3rd movie, but
Yeah.
Warner Brothers convinced him they basically didn't want him to do it because
Yeah.
Batman Returns didn't do as well as Batman. It was kind of a weird Tim Burton movie, and they actually we've talked about McDonald's a lot. Because the movie was so kind of adult and there was a lot of weird sexual stuff in Batman Returns, it really turned off McDonald's, who had a Happy Meal campaign with Batman Returns.
But
So
they did this?
I know. We'll get into it. So, so it's funny because I've watched interviews where Tim Burton's like saying how he was excited to do a 3rd one, and then Warner Brothers was like, "Yeah, but don't you want to do something else?" Like, and then he's like, "I don't think y'all want me to do a Batman movie," and so he didn't do it. Like I said, he's
Yeah.
a executive producer. He has a producer credit,
Yeah.
but I don't think he had a lot to do with the movie. But
No.
as far as Batman, so Michael Keaton chose not to return. William Baldwin and Ethan Hawke were also considered to replace Keaton, but Val Kilmer got the job. Brittany, what do you think about the late great Val Kilmer in this role?
RIP first and foremost.
Yeah,
Um, I read that Val accepted the role without having read the script. He was actually kind of like, I guess you could say, researching for the movie that he was next up for, which is The Ghost in the Darkness, which is also came out like I think in '96. He's someone who goes to Africa and he's trying to find this lion that's like murdering the villagers and what have you. Anyway,
mhm.
the irony with that is that he was actually in a bat cave when he got word that he
Oh,
was
right.
offered the role. And so I was like, oh, how very apropos. Like it's almost he was destined to be the next Batman. But I did also read that he had difficulties with Joel Schumacher, the director,
Yeah,
and whatnot. That's not the only struggle that actors faced for this movie. There's a couple other actors who didn't, weren't fond of each other. But for
yeah,
Val, I thought he did a really nice job. It was more, I guess, kind of what I would have envisioned a young Batman to be because he looks considerably younger than Michael Keaton. I don't actually know the age difference between the two. I know that
he was
for
younger
me,
though. Yeah,
yeah, Val Kilmer just has that more youthful, young Batman kind of look, and I mean, it's if he's continuing the work of the previous Batman, right, with the Michael Keaton Batman, he's been Batman for a while, obviously,
yeah,
so he's got it down lock. Not like the Robert Pattinson, the Batman, where he's like year 2 Batman and he's still trying to figure things out.
right.
But I think he played both Batman and Bruce Wayne very well because unlike Robert Pattinson, who I think did a really good Batman, was a really shitty Bruce Wayne. Uh,
Yeah, but
I think
that's on purpose though. Like he's
I
not
know, I understand,
right.
I understand. I'm just saying, like Val, like gave that performance of etiquette and that like he knew how to behave in society and how to play up that billionaire sort of
Yeah,
look, and then at the same time he was a vigilante who was protecting the innocent, and
yeah,
he knew his job and he did it well. And I think Val, like I think he portrayed that role extremely well, even though he probably was a nightmare to work with from what I read.
Yeah, he was difficult in a lot of movies, but this is
Yeah.
obviously there's a reason why he didn't return to do
Yeah.
Batman and Robin, and then we got George
Mhm.
Clooney as Batman, which brings me up a good point. I want you mentioned kind of mentioned like how you had these 4 movies, and as we were growing up watching these movies, you're kind of led to believe it's the same story continuing, right? Because you've got the same Alfred, you've got the same Commissioner Gordon. It's the worlds are very similar looking,
Yeah.
but I know like later on, like in the comics, they've determined that like 89 and Returns, that's a separate universe than
Mm.
what we got in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. So um I can kind of see that now. Of course, I think that's just kind of, it doesn't matter because back then, like I said, it was a continuation in a lot of ways because of the
Yeah.
same actors. But um yeah, the rest of the cast, this is again where back then where Val Kilmer, while he played the main character, he was not the star of the movie. That was Jim Carrey.
No.
And
Oh, yes.
Tommy Lee Jones, who you talked about actors
Yep.
not getting along. They did not get along at all. And
No.
it was more on Tommy Lee Jones' part.
Yes.
He did not enjoy working with Jim Carrey. And it's
Mm-mm.
kind of funny because if you watch this movie, the way that Tommy Lee Jones plays Two-Face, it's like he's trying to one up the craziness of Jim
Yeah.
Carrey's Riddler, but it's like that's not really the character. And it's like,
Yeah.
to me, Two-Face is the worst character in this movie. He's so
He's
like,
unhinged.
yeah, he's out of place and it like just doesn't really work. And it's like you're not supposed to be the crazy maniacal one. I mean, yes, you
Yeah.
have a split, but like
Mhm.
to me, it's like he was trying to one up Jim Carrey, and it's like you couldn't do that. Like
I mean, that's
yeah,
probably one of the multiple personalities that Harvey Dent's Two-Face has, obviously.
yeah,
I mean, that much was said in the movie. That's why, Nicole Kidman's character, Dr. Chase Meridian, had been brought in because she specializes in, uh, personality disorders and other
right,
things of that nature. But, yeah, to read that Tommy Lee and Jim Carrey did not get on very well, I think it also stemmed from, like, movie releases from the previous year or something, or earlier that year, where Dumb and Dumber came out the same week as Tommy Lee's movie, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's supposed to be like one of his best, and it got overshadowed by Dumb and Dumber.
yeah,
And yeah, he just didn't like Jim Carrey from the jump. And the next day, they were filming the scene where Riddler and Two Face form an alliance. Which that scene alone is kind of funny because when you see the camera pan out as Drew Barrymore's character, the sugar,
mhm,
versus the spice, the more dominatrix type
yeah,
woman, as I like to reference her.
yeah,
As that camera's panning and they're walking towards the camera, you can see Jim Carrey in the green, waiting for his cue. And it's just like, really, people? Like, we're supposed to be professionals here. Like, this is the third installment of,
yeah,
of Tim Burton's Batman, and y'all do this? Come on. But yeah, I think it was unfortunate that these two acclaimed actors just couldn't get on. But hey, like, that's people, that's real life.
yeah,
You're not meant to get along with everybody. But I think it did heavily, the personal heavily impacted the theatrical, like what you're saying, to the point of Two-Face is trying to, you know, outdo the Riddler. And yeah, I think it kind of worked, honestly. I mean, but Tommy Lee, like, I think that's the most unhinged role I've ever seen him in, right?
yeah,
He's always that very straightforward, militant, very serious type actor. Like, even in Captain America First Avenger, there's no nonsense. He's got funny moments. He's got
yes,
funny lines, but he's just serious 100% of the time. And so to see him in this stage of his life just being crazy, very bizarre. Don't want to see that ever again out of Tommy
yeah.
Lee.
Yeah, and this quote kind of sums it up. Jim Carrey years later was talking about how they didn't get along, and he said that Tommy Lee Jones was not friendly toward him at all. And he once told Jim Carrey, "I hate you. I really don't like you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery."
Yeah.
So he did not did not dig Jim Carrey at all. But I'm pretty sure the audience did. Jim Carrey was like
Oh.
I mean, this is like right when he was on
Masterful.
fire with the Ace Ventura movies, and he was really like, ascending to like this stratosphere that not many people would ever reach. And it was like a
Yeah.
perfect time in the 90s where he had these massive movie stars, which we don't really have massive movie stars anymore,
No.
And some people say, superheroes kind of killed the movie star because the superheroes are the stars of these movies. I've always said this, you could put anybody in the mask and play Batman.
Yeah.
You literally could. I mean,
Yeah.
there's certain characters that you kind of have to look like a certain way or whatever, have a certain build, but with
Except maybe
Batman,
Clooney.
see, I don't think George Clooney was that bad in his movie. I just don't think that movie was really bad. I like had
He
Michael
regrets
Keaton.
it. He regrets
He
it.
does, but like had Michael Keaton or Val Kilmer been in that movie, it would have been the same movie. I feel very confident.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
So we talked about some things that are different, and one of the things that's different is the Batmobile. We got a new
Yep.
Batmobile for this movie.
Yep. Give me a
So Brittany,
moment to call up that image.
yeah, let's show some photos here while we're talking.
Yep. There
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
kind of a dark photo, but this Batmobile, I remember this one well because one of my brothers had the toy for it, so I saw it
Oh, that's
I saw
awesome.
it on the floor a lot, and it has like the giant spoiler. It's a cool looking car, but to me, the '89 Batmobile was my favorite. It's probably not the most practical. We might talk about the most practical later, but yeah, I enjoyed the way this car looked and how cool it was with the way when it was lit up. Brittany, what'd you think about this Batmobile?
Oh, it looks great. I love the cutouts. I love like how it kind of like illuminates from underneath. And I think overall I mean, obviously I do enjoy Batman Returns, but for me and where I was in my youth, this movie sticks out to me better than Batman Returns. I saw Batman Returns like later in life and was able to retain it. So like this Batmobile is like my Batmobile. I think it's awesome looking. It's really cool. I love the shape of it. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's very cool, very cool stuff. I do want to mention about the cast before we move on from the casting. And we still got a couple more actors to talk about, but I want to mention how, and actually in the comments here, King B. Johnson mentioned Billy D. Williams. Billy D.
Yeah.
Williams was Harvey Dent in Batman and then Batman Returns. However, he did not get to play him obviously in this movie. So
Too bad.
really interesting because obviously Billy D.
Yeah.
Williams, most famous for Lando Calrissian in the Star Wars, the original trilogy.
Yep.
I think I would have liked to see Billy D play the part instead of Tommy Lee Jones, honestly.
That would have been fun. That would have been
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think that would have been better. Let's talk about Chase Meridian, played by Nicole Kidman. I'm like mixing the names. Nicole Kidman played Dr. Chase Meridian, and Brittany, this woman is horny for Batman from the jump. Like literally from the second she steps on the screen, she wants that Batman.
Why in God's name would you say that to me as I'm taking a sip out of my drink? My God. But yes,
Anyway,
look at her if you're
yeah.
watching on YouTube.
Right.
This woman is ready to bear it all
Yeah.
on the top of the building wherever the bat signal is because she's calling for Batman to say, "Hey, let's go."
See, that's something I didn't remember from watching it as a kid. Like it was like I mean, I remember obviously I remember her in the movie, but I didn't remember how like overtly, like literally every mention of Batman in the first 30 minutes of the movie, she's like ready to devour the guy. So
Yeah, and that's the funny thing because you saying earlier that McDonald's pulled out of promotions or what have you from the Tim Burton
yeah.
era because they're like, oh, we had like really weird sexual tension in Batman Returns with Catwoman and what have you. And it's like, and then you throw in this lovely redhead with a banging body like into the movie, and she's like basically Batman, take me, like come on, who does that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, part of the Batman Returns thing was also the fact that the Penguin was in it, and it was kind of a scary movie for kids. He bites the guy's nose off, and it's bleeding.
He did stay in character too, so even off site.
Yeah, I mean that is a weird movie too.
It is. It's one of my favorites.
Summer blockbuster. That's also a Christmas movie. So,
but yeah, no. Nicole Kidman. Now, interestingly, King B, who says Nicole and Val have such great chemistry that it makes sense. I disagree. I, you know, didn't remember a whole lot, obviously, in my youth, having watched this movie. Didn't understand, how chemistry worked, obviously, amongst actors. But on the rewatch, it's like the fact that she's just throwing herself at him,
Yeah.
and he's just like, he's kind of into it, but he's like not trying to show it. And then like when they do make out, it's like disgusting. Okay, like especially the last scene in front of Arkham,
Mhm.
like they linger, they're looking at each other, and then it's like, it's just like, like this is too much. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm 36 years old and I cringed when I watched the rewatch, and I'm like, no, this is too much.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I agree. Moving on to another character, let's talk about Chris O'Donnell as Robin.
Yeah.
I think Robin has some of my favorite scenes in the movie, honestly. Some of the most memorable scenes for me. Obviously, whenever we see his family die in front of him,
Yeah.
the Flying Graysons at the circus. I thought that was a very good way to like establish this character's backstory, how he becomes
Yeah.
Robin, obviously. And then obviously his laundry scene, which is so silly, how he's like bringing out the laundry, like use like socks or nunchucks or whatever. He's doing this like really elaborate like way to dry his clothes.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah, I thought
weird,
that
but
was
very
weird.
memorable. Yeah.
Yeah, and how he just referred to Alfred as Al,
Al.
like,
Yeah.
he steals the Batmobile to,
Yeah.
take it for a joyride. He
Yep.
kisses the girl.
Right.
"Thanks, you saved my life." Like, shut
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
It's such weird dialogue, and how he's, like, hell-bent on wanting to kill Harvey Dent, and
Yeah.
and Bruce is, like, trying to say, "Okay, you kill Harvey Dent. Then what? Then what do you do?" You basically become me, and I don't remember how old Dick Grayson is supposed to be. Like, if I mean, he obviously has to be under 18 if basically Bruce takes him in as a ward, that way he avoids child services and what have you. But like
Yeah.
he's a man for all intents and purposes, right?
Yeah.
And he is determined to find out what's behind that locked door, behaving as young men would. They're being told, don't go looking for this, you're going to go look for it. He steals, like I said, the Batmobile, and he wants to be a partner with Batman, and runs away like a petulant child because he's not getting what he wants. Like, he just behaves like an adolescent, right?
Yeah.
But he does come through, right? He saves Batman after Harvey or Two-Face tries to kill him, obviously donning the acrobatic Robin costume, or the Flying
Yeah.
Graysons costume. And I have the photo here, if you're watching on YouTube, with the very anatomically correct bodysuits that Robin wears, as well as Batman, which was a huge change for previous Batman to this one, because I think Joel Schumacher was the one who wanted the quote anatomically correct bodysuits, and therefore introducing for the very first time bat nipples.
Yep. Bat nipples. Yeah. They were more prominent in Batman and Robin, I remember. They really
They
kind of lingered
were,
on. Yeah.
but the close-up shots of Batman getting dressed, especially for the final
Yeah.
showdown, and you see the I don't know what they're called, but like for the forearms, it's got the blades, and then like the last shot is of the butt.
Yeah.
Like, really? We're gonna do that? Okay,
Yeah.
why not? But hey, I mean, the costumes look good. I like them. I think they look great.
Yeah.
But Chris O'Donnell, yeah, had some good times in this movie, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. Another one of my favorite Robin moments is he talks about like what I'm gonna he wants to be Batman's sidekick. He's like, what are we gonna call me? Am I gonna be Batboy, Nightwing? Which is
Nightwing.
obviously a reference to who Dick Grayson becomes after he
Yeah.
leaves. He stops being Robin. He becomes Nightwing.
Well, what
Um,
does he say at one point? It's kind of like a nod to like the old Batman. He's like,
Holy rusted metal. Yeah.
holy rusted metal, Batman. And Batman's like, huh?
Yeah. He's like, no, this metal, it's holy and rusted. Yeah.
Like,
There's
oh,
holes in it. It's rusted. Yeah.
it's like holy. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Why not?
that joke played better 30 years ago, because
Oh
it
yeah, of
obviously was
course.
closer to the 66 show, which, was pretty iconic. It's still iconic, but
Oh yeah, of
I don't
course.
think nowadays a movie would really play to that just because it's been so long
Oh, I
since
know.
that came out.
But still.
Um, this is a pretty action heavy movie.
Mhm.
Do you have any other like favorite scenes you want to mention or talk about?
I mean, really any scene that had Jim Carrey in it, the evolution of Edward Nygma to the Riddler with the big box looking
Yeah,
thing, which is also very symbolic of or iconic, not so much symbolic, but iconic. Um, brain waves, being absorbed through the television and it fills his brain and therefore he
yeah,
becomes a genius. All of his costumes, his hair, just his mannerism, and I love the question mark Caine like when he spins it and he uses it as like a weapon and that kind of thing. I just love Jim Carrey in this movie. It's one of like my all time favorite Jim Carrey type
yeah,
movies. And yes, obviously it's a Batman movie. He's supposed to be the star. Sorry, but Jim Carrey really stole the show, and I think
yeah.
I think it was done well. And I'm forever just no pun intended, but I'm forever gonna love this movie. It's as stupid as it may be. I love this damn movie.
Yeah, Jim Carrey in the trailer, he had a lot of like the big quotes. He had like the riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of
Who's
the big
afraid of the
black
big black
bat?
bat?
Yeah. And then he does the part where at that party at the end where he's like, your interest was good, his was better. The difference, showmanship.
Showmanship.
Yeah.
No, but even like in the final showdown too with Batman and his very glittery like bodysuit, and I wish we had a picture of it here, but still like just all the riddles, all
Yeah.
the scene where he and Two Face are playing, Battleship, but they're trying to sink the
Yeah.
Batmobile, not the Batmobile, but like the aircraft or the watercraft that is from the Batcave. It's like, oh, you sunk my battleship. Like
Yeah.
just the delivery, the performance of Jim Carrey is iconic and one I love.
And you mentioned the riddles. The riddles were actually pretty complicated in this movie. I was trying to figure them out because I could remember them. And I'm like, they're way more complicated than what we got in the Batman. You
Who
know,
knows the number of like in terms of alphabet? Like
yeah.
number 5 is the letter E and number 26 is, 26 is Z. But you know what I'm saying? Like who
Yeah, yeah.
knows that stuff off the top of their head? I'll tell you who. No one.
Yeah, no one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were complicated. If it wasn't for the fact that I've seen this movie like 100 million times, I probably wouldn't have known any of these answers. But
Yeah.
yes, they were well thought out, and I think they being the production actually hired someone like as a puzzle master of some kind, who either created puzzles for the New York Times or something. They got someone legit to actually work on these riddles and puzzles and
Yeah.
things of that nature and make it more like authentic, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I did think they're very difficult though to try to figure out. Just you're thinking like, oh, well, I was a kid when this came out. I'm sure now, I'm a 45-year-old man. I can figure this stuff out. And it's like, no, I can't. I still
Nope.
can't. So,
No.
um, one of my favorite shots is the final shot we see of Batman and Robin when they're running. You see the Batman logo pop up and
Mhm.
they're running in the darkness. And it's like, that would have been a perfect time for it to say Batman and Robin. That would have been a much better title
Mm.
for this
Batman and
movie.
Robin will return.
Right. Yeah. Before the MCU did that. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
is there any other moment you want to get to before we talk about what I think is maybe the most memorable part about this movie?
Oh. Oh, now I'm curious what you portray to be the most memorable part of the movie.
The music?
Uh
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will be your outro for today's pod, of course.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I love the movie from start to finish. I think it's really well done. R.I.P. to Michael Gould or Goff. How do you pronounce his last name?
Goff. Yeah,
Alfred
Michael Goff.
Goff.
Yeah.
I loved him throughout these movies. I was so sad, of course, when he passed, and he also worked very closely with Tim Burton too, up until his
Mhm.
final role, which I believe was Sleepy Hollow, which was in 1997, 98. But anyway, yeah, no, I love this. I love this movie. I think it's campy, but it's fun campy in my personal opinion. I did like the direction that Joel Schumacher took. No disrespect to Tim Burton, but I did appreciate like this slight change.
Yeah, I agree. To the chat, we have King B. Johnson with the question: Alicia Silverstone, Chris O'Donnell, and George Clooney, or Val and Chris? I'll take Val and Chris.
I'll take Val and Chris.
Yeah.
Val and Chris all day, every day.
No offense to those other actors, but that movie just wasn't good. Yeah.
It wasn't.
It was not good.
It was not good.
And Brittany, did you know this movie has a director's cut? Supposedly. No one.
What?
I mean, the public hasn't seen it, but there are copies that are out there apparently that Warner Brothers has that just haven't released.
This is new information to me.
It's called the Schumacher cut, of course.
Of course it is.
And it's supposedly 50 minutes longer, so almost an hour longer. It's darker with less campy moments. So I don't know if we're ever going to see it. You would think the 30th anniversary would have been a good time to, bring it out, sell it on Blu-ray or whatever, 4K. But see if we ever get to see the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. Something. Let's talk about the music, because one of the things I forgot about this movie was the fact that the theme music, Danny Elfman's Batman, that's like so iconic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so heavily used in Batman and Batman Returns. And in my mind, I thought, well, it's in this movie, it's in the next movie. It's not. Yeah. The music was only used in a teaser trailer for this movie, but in the film, the score is composed by Elliot Goldenthal.
Yeah.
And it's a good score, but to me, it is missing that Batman Danny Elfman score. So I completely forgot about that. Brittany, did you notice that, or was that something that you thought about?
No, I mean, of course, I always watch these things in the credits, and it's like, oh no, Danny Elfman, but it makes sense because he works closely with Tim Burton on a lot of his projects, and the new composers will usually adapt from the previous score, of course, but they'll still make it into their own. And even before we jumped on this pod, Justin, you heard me. I'm over here. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know. It's just it's catchy. It's good. It's I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's good. I just think that you could probably mix in the Batman.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah, you could always do that. But it is what it is.
So the thing that I think the most memorable about this movie is the soundtrack. Obviously, Kiss from a Rose by Seal. Smash hit. It's still a song you see in commercials nowadays. It is. It's become a parody of itself, but it was such a smash hit.
It's so funny.
And then the song from U2, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me, which was the ending of the movie. Right. That song plays. So the soundtrack was a big deal. That was back when movie soundtracks were a thing. I mean, they still are around nowadays, but back then, the soundtrack and the music video on MTV, which the music video for Seal, his song was directed by Joel Schumacher. So, yeah, so it's a different time when, obviously the VHS or the DVD was a big deal. The music video was a big deal. The soundtrack, it was this whole package that
what a vibe.
Yeah.
What a vibe, baby. Kids from a rose on the grave. Yeah, I remember actually, this is just a tidbit, and then we can move on to Batman Begins. I watched this movie, I want to say within the last 10 years or so, definitely in the last 15, but it was a riff. And if y'all out there are old enough to remember Mystery Science Theater 3000, this was kind of a nod to that. If I'm not mistaken, two of the hosts or what have you of the riff, the troupe that would do this riff were from Mystery Science Theater 3000. This troupe are called Master Pancake. They are based out of Austin, Texas, and they used to travel to Houston to do a live performance of, ripping a movie apart. In this case, it was Batman Forever. And so they would throw in, of course, their commentary. They would throw in little weird sound bites and things like that. And I remember when I watched this with my sister and my now husband, when you saw the actual bat flying towards you, because it's a haunting of Bruce Wayne, they would throw in, I think it was Stevie Nicks, just like the white-winged dove. And it was just so freaking funny.
That's funny.
But yeah, of course they played Kiss from a Rose at the very end as well.
Yeah.
And man, if those were fun. Live performances like that was really, really, really fun. Not a way to watch the movie for the very first time, though, I will say, in case you guys ever do decide to do that. Watch the movie first, then go watch someone make fun of it.
Yeah. Before we leave Batman Forever, I want to read Yesenia's comment. She says, the most commonly seen image from the extended cut of Batman Forever comes from a deleted scene where Bruce comes face to face with a giant bat. I do remember seeing that.
Remember that.
And I thought it was supposed to be Man-Bat, which in the comics is a Batman character that is a giant bat.
Man-Bat.
It's called Man-Bat, yeah. But the director's cut, supposedly, like I said, it's much longer, but it also focuses more on Bruce and the loss of his parents. And there's this whole part about that red book, the red diary or whatever.
Right. The ledger.
Yeah, that's a key part of the director's cut. Whereas in this movie, it's shown.
Yeah, because it was referenced a lot.
It's referenced a couple of times, but it's they kind of skirt around it.
Yeah.
Like, to me in this movie, another criticism I have is it seems like Bruce wants to give up being Batman awfully quick.
Quitter.
I don't quite understand the motivation. Like
Same.
like right away is like, oh yeah, I'm going to give up being Batman. And it's like the Gotham needs Batman now more than ever. Like this is not the time to give up the cape and the cowl. So
yeah. Oh, the cowl. Yeah. Watching him also fly by and not waving but acknowledging Commissioner Gordon, on the way to the very final fight. Yeah. And it's like he has to totally move his body to then give a thumbs up to Commissioner Gordon. Like, yeah, he's gonna see you all the way up there in the sky. But like the fact because of the cowl, he can't turn his head. He just has to move his whole entire body and then thumbs up. So funny.
But see, that would have been a great moment to have the music. Da-da-da-da-da.
Oh yeah.
Da-da-da-da. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we did not get that music, but
we did not.
But like I said, the Elliot Goldenthal music is great. Soundtrack, of course, is a key part of the movie. And Batman Forever. It's not a bad movie. Not a bad movie to watch in 2025.
I think it's worth rewatching for sure.
Yeah.
And if you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor, go watch it.
Yeah, check it out. If you haven't watched it in a long time, it's on HBO Max or whatever they're calling themselves this week. And like I said, it's worth checking out. It's a fun one. So for sure. Happy 30th anniversary to Batman Forever. Now we move 10 years in the future. We celebrate the 20th anniversary of Batman Begins, a movie that I like much more than Batman Forever. Let me hit you with the facts. Batman Begins released on June 15th, 2005. Runtime, 2 hours, 20 minutes. A box office of only $373 million. However, the movie, considering the rest of the Dark Knight trilogy, the other two movies made $1 billion apiece. So
that's true.
This movie was honestly hurt by the fact that Batman and Robin did so bad that people were not excited for another Batman movie, even though it was 8 years later.
Yeah.
People were kind of leery, I don't know about this Batman character after what we just saw.
Yeah.
But like I said, $373 million at the box office. However, it made $167 million in the first year it was on DVD, which is amazing. Think about that. That is almost half of what it made at the box office it made on DVD. So when people talk about what's different about Hollywood now compared to 20 years ago is the loss of the DVD. Companies made so much money off those DVDs. It was like a second release window for the movie. It was like the movie comes out in theaters and then 6 months to a year later it hits DVD and movies got a huge bump from the DVD sales. And this movie was one of the highest selling DVDs of all time. So and I'm sure it's still, obviously, these are just numbers just a year later. So I'm sure it's made plenty more money over the years and, when it's been released as a Blu-ray or 4K or whatever. So,
oh God.
What's that?
I remember when they were really pushing 4K. That was the thing. Yeah.
It still is kind of a thing.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So budget $150 million, directed by Christopher Nolan, written by David S. Goyer and Christopher Nolan. And the cast features Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Liam Neeson, Katie Holmes, Gary Oldman, Cillian Murphy, Tom Wilkinson, Rutger Hauer, Ken Watanabe, and Morgan Freeman. Brittany, when I say Batman Begins, what do you remember about this movie 20 years ago? Did you see this movie in the theater? Do you remember the first time you saw it?
I did not see it in theater. I at least I don't believe I did. I didn't see this trilogy, or I didn't see a Christopher Nolan installment until The Dark Knight. And
Okay.
what a movie that was, of course. I don't actually remember the first time I saw this movie. I just remember I did not care for it. Um, and I couldn't tell you the reason why, because I did do a rewatch of this movie Sunday night, and I'm like, this movie isn't as bad as I like remembered it to be. It's still not like my favorite in the trilogy. It ranks number 3 out of the trilogy for me. And I mean, I had questions like just from the jump. And I love Cillian Murphy. And I'm enthralled by him just as much as Christopher Nolan was enthralled by him, because he wanted to
Yeah.
find reasons to like keep the camera on him, because Cillian has such gorgeous blue eyes. Oh, anyway, beside the point. Scarecrow like scared the shit out of me. And that's probably why I didn't like this movie, because it got loud right when you inhaled whatever
Toxin,
substance,
yeah.
the toxin,
Yeah.
and then just like the distortion of the voice, and then just like the camera movements and the visuals, I like that genuinely freaked me out. And so that probably contributes as to why I didn't care for watching this movie more than just once or twice. And every time it was on TV, I would always catch it in the same spot, which annoys me. But I did do the rewatch. I appreciate the performances by everyone, of course, right? After finishing the movie, I'm like, oh, there are a lot of British actors in this movie, right? It's supposed to be based in Gotham City in America, and somewhere in America, and it's like we got a shit ton of English actors,
Yeah.
or English, British, Irish actors. So I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I love Liam Neeson, I love Cillian Murphy, I love Michael Caine, and of course Christian Bale, who's Welsh and what have you. I appreciate the fact that he did a lot of his stunts, like his own stunts. That man goes through so much when it comes to the physicality of taking on a role. Like, Hugh Jackman is probably the only other person I know that puts his body through hell in order to get beefed up or to lose a lot of weight. Christian Bale did the same thing for this role. But it's not a terrible movie. It's just not my favorite.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I have the opposite opinion. This movie, before we get to my thoughts, I just want to like lay it out. This movie was very influential in the 2000s. It was the movie that made Christian Bale a star. It's the movie that made Christopher Nolan, a big time director. It's a movie that really like invented the reboot and really like, brought Batman back to the forefront, and really like Hollywood basically like used this as a template for other franchises. Like James Bond did the next James Bond series was like they did like a Batman Begins with their next movie, and it was like, this is how you do a reboot. This is how you bring back an older property and start over. And this, what I love about this movie, there's so many things about I love it, but this movie, like, it's called Batman Begins, and it literally explains in an entertaining way how Bruce Wayne becomes Batman. It shows like how does he gain the skills to be a ninja and to fight like Batman? Well, they show the training, they show where he goes. He learns from the League of Shadows and from Ra's al Ghul, right? And well, how do you get the suit? Well, they show how he makes the suit. They show how to get the Batmobile, which they never call the Batmobile. It's the Tumbler in the Dark Knight trilogy. But where does he get the car? They explain that. They explain everything in just a very entertaining way. They explain, why bats. It's because he's afraid of bats, and so he wants to instill the fear that he has to his enemies. It's just so well done. It's such a well-made movie. I think it's the best Batman movie ever. I don't know if it's the best movie that has Batman in it. I know that's kind of like, kind of a weird thing to say, because like The Dark Knight is probably a better movie, but this is more about Batman. Whereas The Dark Knight is very much about the Joker, very much about Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Batman's obviously a main character in the movie, but like this movie is the most Batman movie. And I love the movie. I think the music from Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard,
Mhm.
excellent, just excellent score. Like it's one of those
Yeah.
ones where it's like once I get that in my head, it's like dun 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 dun. Like it's just like I can hear that all day long, that music and
Mhm.
the way it builds and like
Yeah.
it's the best, honestly. It's my favorite one of the trilogy, which I like all through these movies a lot, but this movie
Mhm.
is so strong, and it's such a bummer this movie didn't do better, and it's, like, because of like I said, Batman and Robin was such a failure, and
Yeah.
people are just like, "I don't want this anymore," and they had to, like, completely, like, overhaul everything they thought
They
about
did.
Batman, and this is the kind of movie that really helped launch the MCU because this is like, like, the MCU kinda learned from this movie, you can kinda tell,
Mhm.
and, speaking of the MCU, I think that this movie, along with Iron Man and Captain America: The First Avenger, are the best origin movies for characters ever made.
Yeah.
Like, those are 3 excellent, like, origin films that are, like,
Yeah.
fun to watch, you can rewatch them, they're rewatchable as hell, but
Mhm.
they're very well made, and you understand who Tony Stark is, you understand who Iron Man is, who Steve Rogers and Captain America are, and in this movie, you get Bruce Wayne, you get Batman, they're 2 different people.
Yeah.
Christian Bale plays both of them so well, and, I mean, Christian Bale, he is Batman to me, like, I mean,
Mhm.
I grew up obviously, Michael Keaton was Batman, and I also had love for Michael Keaton, but to me, Christian Bale is the best Batman, and it was, yeah, this I mean, I watched this movie a couple years ago, and, like, every time I watch it, I'm like, this is the best one. This is the best one."
No, it's a really good origin story, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I mean, before, like, the MCU became what it is, like, I love Batman. Like, I grew up watching Batman and, I love Batman. I think by this point too, for me, it was just like, "Oh god, like, here we go." Like, the reboot, sort of thing, and the bad taste of Batman and Robin that
yeah,
was still there after all those years. But for me, this movie, it just doesn't land quite the same as The Dark Knight, and, shout out to Chris, Malik Reacts, who says Batman Begins is the best Batman movie ever made. It's better than The Dark Knight. And that's great. I mean, for you to enjoy this movie more than The Dark Knight, I think it's awesome. I mean, everyone's gonna have their preference. I really enjoy The Dark Knight. I even enjoy The Dark Knight Rises more so than this movie for whatever reasons. I just do. Right? I may not
yeah,
have a solid explanation. I just do. And like I said, I think for me, a lot of it was Scarecrow. That freaked me out even now as a 30 something year old. But I think also not so much that the origin story was told chronologically. It's like the opening scene, you see him in this prison and he's fighting these inmates, and then it's just like, but why is he even there? Like, why would Bruce Wayne, a billionaire, be in a prison in some foreign country?
mhm,
And
yeah,
like, why? And it's like this, like, why? And then eventually, of course, you get the full story.
yeah,
And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Maybe I just want to like have the order of things make a little bit more sense and not just be kind of just everywhere. Not that they didn't piece it together well, because they did, obviously. But for me, that was just also like something that I just didn't care for personally.
yeah,
But
I think the reason why they did it like that was to get Christian Bale in the movie right away, not to s
yeah,
like,
no,
not to
I get
start off
that.
with the little kid seeing the parents die, which they did that very well also in the movie, but
Yeah,
I understand what Nolan was doing with that, and I think it
sure,
worked
sure,
really
sure.
well. Yeah. Um, Also something that's great about this movie is the twist where you meet Liam Neeson, you think he's this, like, mentor for Bruce,
Yeah.
Henry Ducard, and
Mhm.
later on in the movie when, spoilers obviously for a 20-year-old movie, but when he's revealed to be Ra's al Ghul, I was like I remember it got me, I was like, "Oh, that's really good." Like, 'cause, Liam Neeson, like, before this movie, he was kind of always like a mentor kinda character, obviously in Star Wars. He was in
Oh,
the,
yes.
what was it? Phantom Menace, and
Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon Jinn.
yeah, so it's like, that was
Love
such
him in that role.
a great casting, such a great twist. Did that surprise you, or did you kind of piece it together before when you were watching this the first time?
No, 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 I definitely did not see that coming for
Yeah,
Liam Neeson to be a villain type, right? Or, yeah, I guess you could say a villain type. But I think he did it well, obviously, because I feel like he plays fierce very well. and that's, having obviously watched Taken and the very iconic phone conversation he has with the Albanians who kidnapped his daughter. Like, he is a force. And to see him in this role as a villain type was really refreshing, because every time I listen to Liam, I always hear Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia. Aslan is the lion who is like the king of Narnia, if you will, and he's a protector of sorts, and he does good, right? And so I close my eyes and I listen to Liam, and that's all I hear. But then you see the actions, and you see how he speaks to Bruce, and how he's coming to finish what was started all those years ago when the Waynes were inadvertently murdered as a result of the League of Shadows plan to restart Gotham City. It's like, oh, you're a dick, like you're just not cool. Like you're the bad guy. And it's very refreshing to see an actor who usually plays one type of role spread their wings a little bit more and do something different. And it was cool. I did not see it coming, but I did thoroughly enjoy it.
So let's talk about some casting stuff. So originally Gary Oldman was gonna play Ra's al Ghul.
No way.
Yeah, but they decided that no, it would be more surprising to have Liam Neeson. Also, Guy Pearce was mentioned as possibly playing the character. He had a history with Christopher Nolan. However, Guy Pearce is kind of on the same age range as Christian Bale, so it really wouldn't have made sense to have him be the mentor for Christian Bale.
For sure.
So that's pretty interesting stuff as far as casting. And let's start off with the casting. Obviously, let's start with Batman. Christian Bale got the role, played the character, I think, perfectly, basically. Other people who were up for this role were Henry Cavill, which he went on to play Superman, of course. We had Billy Crudup, Hugh Dancy, Jake Gyllenhaal, Joshua Jackson, Eon Bailey, who I'm not familiar with, David Boreanaz, and Heath Ledger were also mentioned. Cillian Murphy, who of course plays Scarecrow, he actually auditioned to play Batman. He was one of the three that actually auditioned. And Josh Hartnett was also rumored to be in the running for Batman, but they went with Bale. And I'm sure a lot of those guys would have done a great job, but like it's hard to imagine this movie without Christian Bale as Batman.
Yeah. No, for sure. I had to look up Eon Bailey to see who he is. I have seen him in movies, but if you were to tell me, oh yeah, this guy was like up for the role. Nope, couldn't see it. Not at all.
One of the three who auditioned, he got to the audition stage where it was Bailey, Bale, and Cillian Murphy. So, and Cillian Murphy, his auditions online. You can watch on YouTube. I've watched it before.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard they also brought out the Val Kilmer bat suit.
Yeah. Which is also a great tie-in for Batman Forever with Batman Begins.
Yeah. That's really cool. I think the cape had been long since lost, but they had like the cowl, they had the bat suit and all that other stuff for them to, I don't know if it was to try on necessarily, but just to kind of like embody Batman in their audition, which I thought was really, really cool. I don't really feel like I could have seen any of these actors other than Christian Bale be this adaptation of Batman. Henry Cavill, as much as I love him, I think he's more fitting for Superman, even though I don't think those movies are great at all. That's just my personal opinion. But I think Christian was like the right choice, obviously. I mean, this trilogy went on to be one of the most successful franchises like out there, right? So kudos to them for casting Christian and all the work that he put in to be Bruce Wayne Batman.
Yeah. And every Batman has to have a trusted butler, an Alfred, and Michael Caine to me killed it as Alfred in this movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one of the things about this movie that's so awesome are there's so many great lines in this movie. There's so many great callbacks where you hear the same line, said again or said by a different character. And, Michael Caine has some of the best ones with, repeating stuff like, where Christian Bale's like, or Bruce says, you've never given, you still haven't given up on me. He's like, never, and,
no.
All the stuff with, why do we fall to, pick ourselves back up, to that kind
I
of
like
stuff. And
I liked how when Bruce Wayne finally returns to Gotham, they're on the private jet. I'm like, first of all, how did he contact, people when he's been living, you know, remotely.
it's a movie,
I know, but it's just like those are the things I think about. But anyway, but he's in the jet with Alfred, and Alfred's like, "Oh yeah, you've been presumed dead." He's like, why?" It's like, "Well, you've been gone for 7 years, okay, but what about my shares? This and that, what have you?" And Bruce is all like, "Oh well, I'm glad I left everything to you, Alfred." And Michael Caine as Alfred, of course, leans back in his chair and he's like, "Yes." He goes, "Yes, too right. You may borrow the Royce, or the Rolls, but bring it back with a full tank of gas." And it's like, what? The butler is saying this to like the billionaire child of Wayne Enterprises, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. It's too
And like
funny.
late in the movie, when the fire at the house at the Wayne Manor, and he's got Bruce has got the log on his chest, and
Yeah.
Alfred walks up. He's like, "What's the point of all those push-ups if you can't get press a log off your chest?" Like so many great lines,
Oh,
such
it's so
great
good.
Batman calling Alfred whenever he needs help after getting hit with a fear toxin. Just
Yep.
I mean, he literally is Batman's partner in crime, and even though they're not criminals per se, but
Mm.
and great Alfred. I think
Oh yeah.
and, we've had a few really good Alfreds. I think honestly, one of my favorite Alfreds is Jeremy Irons' Alfred to Ben Affleck's Batman. But
That's probably the only thing I like about those movies.
he's a great Alfred. But I got to give it to Michael Caine. I think he's the best Alfred we've ever
It's
had.
always got to be a British guy too. So
Yep, yep,
yeah.
yep. Good stuff. Um, Talking about so before Michael Caine took the role, the role was actually offered to Anthony Hopkins, which I think would have been. I don't think it would have been as good.
Oh, but Anthony Hopkins can act, man. Like you put him on, and yeah.
Yeah.
I think that quick wit is there as well,
Okay.
but it's not going to be quite the same performance, of course, as Michael Caine. But it's there. It's there. That would have been a treat to see, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I had to cough there. One of the things people often criticize about this movie that I totally don't understand is Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes. Like a lot of people
Mhm.
think that like she's like the weak part of the movie, and I'll be honest, I've seen this movie, I don't know, 15 times probably. I don't think she's bad at all in this movie. Like
She was fine.
I think she's just as good as Maggie Gyllenhaal is in The Dark Knight. I really don't see the difference. Like, I mean, it's like, I guess, what does she do that's bad in this movie? I've never heard anybody. People
I
say
don't.
she's bad, but I never hear them specifically go, "Oh, because of this, because of that." I mean, she kills it all of her scenes, in my opinion. I don't.
I mean, she's just one of those actresses for me that I liken it to that of Will Ferrell. I just don't like Will Ferrell for whatever reasons. That it's hard to really pinpoint
Yeah,
exactly what it is I don't like about him, but I just don't like a lot of his performances. And it kind of is the same for Katie Holmes. I don't think she did poorly or anything like that. I just don't like her as an actress. But in the sense of playing a childhood friend of Bruce who goes on to be like an assistant DA, and she takes her job serious. She's trying to help clean up Gotham. She's trying to lock up these people who obviously are committing crimes,
mm,
and she tells it like it is, which I do appreciate in that sense of her performance. There's just something about her I just don't care for, but it's hard to like pinpoint exactly what it is. But I don't think
I
she did a poor job in the role. I just don't like her as an actress.
here's why I think people don't like her, because she was basically known for Dawson's Creek, which was obviously like a teen show back in that time period, and she was married to Tom Cruise. And I think
That
because of
partially
that
could be it.
weirdness, I think that's why people always like, run her down. But like, she has some of the best lines in the movie. Talks
Mhm,
about, when she sees Bruce after he's gone swimming at the hotel, and she
mhm.
mentions that, it's not who you are underneath, it's what you do that defines you. And then later on in the movie, as
repeats it
Batman.
back.
He repeats that line to her, and she realizes it's Bruce before
Mhm.
he jumps off and glides away.
Mhm.
That's great stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's good
I've
stuff.
always enjoyed it. Yeah.
No, it's good stuff. I don't know. I feel like I mean, I don't know. Again, just age difference, how great or little there may be between Katie Holmes and Christian Bale, but I feel like you put them on screen together, and she just looks so much younger than him, and it's just kind of like it's a little disturbing. It's almost like baby doll, like to an older man sort of situation, and
Yeah.
that to me just also doesn't sit quite well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I would say that's probably a 15-year difference. Just
Eh.
guessing. Like I don't know. I can look it up, but
I'll look it up real quick. Okay, so
Christian
Katie
Bale's
Holmes at
50.
present time is 46, so minus 20 years, she was
It's
26.
only 6-year difference or 5-year difference. So
Christian Bale is 51.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not crazy, but I agree with you. But she does look young because
Yeah.
she she looks like she did on Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then
honestly, she's slightly older than she was. Yeah.
yeah. And then Cillian Murphy was like 29 when he did this movie. I mean, you look at him
Yeah.
then, and you look at him now, and it's like, whoa, big difference, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've all aged well, I'd say, but in that movie, it's just like she just looks like a child in comparison
Yeah.
to Christian Bale's character. So
And speaking of Cillian Murphy, I love his line whenever Batman shows up later in the movie, and he's like, "The Batman." I love the way he says that. It's such a great way to say
mm,
Batman. And as we mentioned, Cillian Murphy was gonna be, or he auditioned to be Batman.
yeah,
He got the role as Scarecrow. Do you know who else was up for Scarecrow?
I do not.
The MCU would have been a lot different had this guy decided to be the Scarecrow. Robert Downey Jr. was
Are
considered for Scarecrow.
you
So
serious?
yeah.
Wow.
So talk about like a what if scenario. Like if he's in the
What if
Dark Knight
indeed?
trilogy, he's probably not going to
Jeez.
be Iron Man. Who knows if we ever get the MCU, if it ever gets off the ground.
Ah, the irony is that the DCU would have taken off, or DCEU, whatever it's called at that time.
No, that at that time it was just the Nolan movies. It
DC.
was just
Oh, the
DC.
Nolan
Yeah,
movies. Okay, yeah.
yeah,
You're right. You're right. You're
the
right.
Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah, and
Ye-
Scarecrow was in all 3 movies. So
Oh, that's right. I
yeah,
forgot about that.
yeah, he
Forgot about
was.
that little detail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. Let's talk about Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon.
Sir Gary Oldman
There you
now.
go, sorry, Gary Oldman. Yeah,
Yep.
he's great.
Love
Kills it. Yeah,
love him. And it's funny because I love Gary Oldman for a multitude of reasons, but his ability to really make you believe that his accent is so authentic is mind blowing to me. I mean, he's also another British actor um, in this movie, and him as not quite Commissioner Gordon. Of course, he doesn't become Commissioner Gordon until the second movie, but he just plays that role so well. With he's a little apprehensive about accepting help from this unknown person who everyone's telling him like, hey, this guy's up to no good, but he delivered Falcone to us. Yeah, but no one can take the law into their own hands. Okay. And then he sees Batman again in front of his home, and Batman's like, well, what do you think I'm doing? It's like, well, I think you're trying to help. And it's like, good for you. Like, you're not listening to the noise that everyone else has to say that's following like propaganda, most likely. But you have a conscience and you think differently. And he just plays that role so well. I love the moment, of course, where he's able to drive the tank, quote
yeah, the
unquote, the
Tumbler.
tank,
Yeah,
the tumbler, and Batman's all like, "Do you know how to drive stick?"
he's like, I got to get me one of those when he sees the
Yeah,
Tumbler. And
too
I mean,
funny.
this is a good transition for the Tumbler because earlier I talked about how my favorite Batmobile is still the '89 Batmobile. I think it
Mm,
looks the best. But if I were gonna be Batman, I would want the Tumbler. I would want
of
this,
course you
like,
would.
super fast tank because,
The
I mean
chaos that would
well,
ensue.
I mean, it's a tank, like, you
Yeah,
could
I know.
run over
And on the
things.
mean streets of Houston,
Yeah, there you go.
yes, I know what you would do.
Yeah. No, I think the Tumbler looks cool too. I've
Yeah.
always liked
Does
it.
it come in black?
Yeah, yeah. Tumblr's
Wonderful.
Tumblr's so cool. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
honestly, I think, like, just like I think there's never been a bad Batman, there's never been a bad Batmobile, but there are levels
Oh yeah, for sure.
like, ranking them, and, the Tumbler's right up there with the '89 Batmobile for me.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very different. Although I did like the adaptation of like the motorcycle type in the second movie.
Bat cycle. Yeah.
The Bat Cycle. Yeah, I think that one's probably my favorite iteration of any Batman type vehicle. Yeah.
I mean, the original Batwing is pretty cool. The Batwing that's in the Flash is pretty cool too. It's a slight variation from the '89
Yeah.
Batwing, but yeah,
Yeah.
because of the symbol, when it goes up to
Mhm.
the moon, and yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, very cool stuff.
Yep.
Back to the cast. Let's talk about the fact that we have Carmine Falcone, not Falcone, which
Yeah.
we get the Falcone in the Dark Knight trilogy, but then in Matt Reeves' epic crime saga, it's Falcone. So what'd you
Okay.
think about that?
Oh yeah, that I had forgotten that little detail, of course,
Yeah.
as well. And then who plays Falcone? I was just like, all these British actors, godly, like every single one of them is basically a British actor of some kind. The earliest memory I have of that actor, and Justin, you're gonna have to help me out with his name.
Tom Wilkinson.
Thank you, Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah.
The Patriot. That's the first time I remember seeing
Okay.
him
Yeah.
opposite of Mel Gibson in The Patriot.
Yeah.
But I love how he's like that real tough, typical mob sort of criminal. Of course, I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting like almost in a sense of Penguin, right? Or Oz Cobb in the what's the show that we just watched? The Penguin.
The Penguin, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting the essence, right? Obviously. But when he kind of meets his match with Dr. Crane, aka Scarecrow,
Yeah.
and just loses his mind, I felt that. Absolutely felt that. And just, being strapped down to the thing, like Scarecrow. It's like, oh, yeah, I get it. But yeah, Falcone.
Yeah, he's like the perfect like side boss for this movie. Like
Yeah.
you think he's like a bigger deal than he is, and then
Mm-hmm.
Batman takes care of him. The first time we see Batman, which is an hour into the movie, when we see Bruce fully suited up, he straps Falcone to the projector, makes the bat symbol in the
Right.
air.
Make
Yeah,
that signal.
make
Yeah.
the back signal. So
Mm-hmm.
that's also like this movie was trying to be as realistic as possible. I mean, I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff where Batman, he calls on the bats to help him out. Like that's obviously that's not very realistic,
Good call.
but yeah, he has his Morbius moment way before Morbius ever.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The funny thing, that was my first thought too, after, he returns from wherever he was, with the League of Shadows, and he what's the term? Spelunking, or
Spelunking, yeah.
yeah, down into the cave that he fell into as a child. And it's just like huge. And there's, the foundation structure over in the southeast wing. It's like, oh my God, this is just so perfect. Like, oh my God, let's just like build a layer
Yeah.
here. This is awesome. Oh, look, the bats embrace me. That's kind of the vibe I got. And I'm like, oh my God, where's Morbius? When
Yeah.
like, is he gonna pop out now?
Well, I don't know if you remember Batman versus Superman, but in that
I don't want
movie,
to.
the bats lift little Bruce up in the air in like a vision.
Stop it.
If you honestly, all you have to do is watch the first like 10 minutes of
No,
the movie.
don't
Yeah,
want
you can
to.
see it.
No, I don't want to see that about Martha ever again. So,
eh, I want to talk about the Flash again for a second, because in that movie,
okay.
the Batman, the Bat Cave is actually a mixture of the Bale Cave and the Keaton Cave.
That makes
Because
sense.
the waterfall, that's from
Mhm.
Bale. Everything else is basically from '89, but in a
Yeah,
much bigger Bat Cave.
yeah. And I
No,
think
this
this Bat Cave was an actual full set. Like, it was actually, like, constructed, and,
mm.
you know, I think that's really, really cool when they actually
So
build
was
the
the
whole thing.
Flash. It was built.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, the cave's cool. Love all the vehicles, love all the bat gadgets and stuff. This is again, I love the explanation. I love having Morgan
Yeah.
Freeman's Lucius Fox, like as Bruce's guy
It's all
inside the company.
DIYs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I love all the callback lines in the
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Lucius Fox has some great ones. Did you get that memo? Whenever he gets,
Yes. So
Rutger
good.
Howard gets fired, Mr.
Oh,
Earl he gets,
and on that note too, even when Bruce Wayne is in the car and he's getting called by Earl, and what makes you think that you can fire me? It's like, oh, I through charities and or organizations and what have you. I bought the majority of the shares. It's very technical. You wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
The callback to the birthday party, which was great. Oh, and then Christian's performance as a quote drunken Bruce Wayne at his birthday to kick everyone out because Ra's al Ghul and the League of Shadows were there. Him being just a complete jerk to all the guests. I'm like, I don't think he was acting at that point. I think that truly just was Christian Bale because I heard he's a jerk. So I'm pretty sure. It was authentic.
One final member of the cast didn't have a big part, but Brittany, I know you probably wouldn't talk about this person because there's a little kid in this movie who would go on to play a big role in our lives.
And his last, almost.
Yeah. Tell us about young Jack Gleason.
Man, I totally forgot that young Jack Gleason had a cameo or a minor role in this movie. Little Joffrey effing Baratheon from Game of Thrones, the one king that we all hated with a fiery passion. At least I did. Yeah, he is in this movie. I don't know exactly how old he was, Jack, but I mean, it's unmistakable, of course. The same blonde hair, the big blue eyes, what have you. He is enamored by Batman and believes in Batman and saying he's going to save us, even when he gets hit with that toxin, right? And he's starting to see just scary monster creature types with Scarecrow riding on the back of a horse, and the horse is breathing fire with red eyes, and he still stays calm with Rachel Dawes. He's like, he'll come for us, Batman. He'll come for us. Like, just, very opposite of who he would later portray in Game of Thrones, obviously. This kid was very sure and very collected and together, whereas Joffrey, not so much.
Not so much. No, definitely not. So he started in a movie called Reign of Fire with Christian Bale. Jack Gleason did.
Oh, no way.
And that's how he got this movie because actually Bale recommended that he be cast in the movie. So
quite cool.
Very cool for him.
That's very cool. Yeah.
But I remember, obviously, I saw this movie, before I saw Game of Thrones, and I remember, after watching Game of Thrones and hating that character so much, Joffrey, I went back and watched Batman Begins. I'm like, oh, it's the kid from it's Joffrey. He's in Batman Begins. I remember that the first time I heard that, the first time I saw that.
Yeah.
Because no one had ever told me that, and I saw that, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's really cool to
literally forgot about it. Just like how I did with Drew Barrymore in Batman Forever. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot she was in this movie. Like,
yeah, she doesn't have a big
random.
Part. Briefly in the movie.
It's just so random. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Couple things before we get out of here, I want to mention. Obviously, Batman has a no-kill rule, although in these movies, like, kind of kills people. Like, it
kind of kills people indirectly. Yeah,
Two-Face. But there is the part with Ra's al Ghul at the end when they're on the train. It's going off the track, and he basically says to Ra's, like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you either. I know some people had a problem with that. I don't. I thought it was great.
I don't.
But yeah.
I personally don't. I mean,
because he did say before he knew he was Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, he did. Because even like Ra's in return, he basically wounded Bruce within his manor that's on fire, right? The log thing collapses, the beam collapses onto Bruce, and he's like, consider us even. I'm gonna leave you. Like, I haven't killed you, but I'm also not gonna save you. It's the same sort of mentality, sort of, payback, what have you. But I mean, it's a gray area, right? Like, he doesn't have to. He's not gonna kill him, but he's also not gonna save him, right? But he also knows what's gonna happen. I had to ask John. I'm like, hey, so is Ra's al Ghul like really dead? Because I remember in the future movies, like there's like flashbacks or something, but I just couldn't remember if it truly was like a flashback or if at some point Ra's like just so happens to be alive and makes an appearance.
He never returns in the series, but the character in the comics is famous for having the Lazarus pit where he can come back to life that way.
Right.
But no, he does not appear again in the trilogy.
I thought it was flashbacks, but okay, that's fine. Or reference, because obviously in the third movie, his daughter is in the
Oh
third.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, raised reference, but we don't see him.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's
Okay.
my point.
Gotcha.
So I just didn't. I had to like make sure. I'm like, okay, he's dead. Like he's dead. Like he's not coming back. He's dead.
Does not return.
Yeah. No,
He
that
will
was
not return. Yeah.
But yeah, the gray area, I get it, but he technically isn't really committing a crime. I don't know. I'll leave it to the chat. What do y'all think about the Batman no kill rule? But he also just said, I don't have to save you. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah, I agree.
I love the part where Batman. Well, I mean, when we first see Batman, when he says, the guy's like, "Who are you?" I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
Very similar to what we saw in Michael Keaton's
when
he first appears. I think this is actually better.
He's like, yeah, I'm Batman.
No, I'm talking about in '89.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
You guys like, what are you? And he's like, I'm Batman. Yeah. And then you got the part where Batman has got Detective Flask upside down.
Oh right.
The guy's like, I swear to God, I don't know. He's like, swear to me.
Yeah. Oh, that was actually really good. That's a really good impression.
Yeah, thank you.
You worked on that, haven't you?
No, I haven't. Honestly, I just said that for the first time, basically. But
very nice.
Yeah, cool.
All right, Christian.
Then finally, the ending of the movie, which all three of the trilogy movies to me have the best endings. These are just like they end such a strong way. And in this one, although it wasn't Nolan's plan per se to tease Joker coming up, which is what he does, but I do like the part where Gordon and Batman are on the rooftop, and he's like, "Hey, here's another guy we're looking for." Kind of has the flair for the dramatics or theatrics like you do.
Yeah,
gives him the Joker card. Batman's like, I'll look into it. And then Gordon says, I never said thank you. And Batman says, and you'll never have to. And then he just jumps and glides. And then that Hans Zimmer music plays. And it's just like all three of those movies have epic endings. Like seriously, all three. Just
they do.
If you do nothing else but watch the final 5 minutes of all three of those movies, I'm always so freaking pumped after I watch those movies. Like so, I'd run through a wall. Like it's.
Do you want to go don your Batman suit with your ridiculously long, unnecessary cape? Like seriously, like after he gets like the full suit and what have you, and he's just on one of the columns of one of the buildings in Gotham. I'm looking at how long that cape hangs. I'm like, that is like unrealistically long and unnecessary. That man is going to trip and fall. Also, I love it in the Batcave when he like runs in and then like he's trying to leave, but he like flies out of there. And I'm like, just like, really? Just because you have the tech that means you're just gonna fly whenever you have the opportunity. But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
I guess
it's just really like it made me giggle every time I would see him just like
I mean, let's be honest. Capes are more fashion than function, right? They're not very practical. They look cool, but yeah, they definitely if you had a cape, it would get in the way.
Oh,
of your crime fighting adventure. Yeah.
As Edna Mode from The Incredibles would say, no capes.
Which I think you know this, but The Incredibles was obviously a kind of a ripoff of the Fantastic Four, which we'll be talking about this summer. So
also not one of my favorite movies at all.
Oh, you don't like The Incredibles?
Not particularly.
Okay.
No.
Okay, cool.
No. Sorry. Unpopular opinion, not my favorite.
Brittany, let's go to the chat before we get out of here and let's get some comments.
Take it away, Justin.
We had one from Chris Malik Reacts. I think you started, Brittany. You want to go to that one?
Here we go. Give me 1 second as I scroll here. My issue with The Dark Knight is what he said. It's more of a Joker movie. When a superhero movie comes out and the villain is the best part of the movie and Batman is a side character, that's not good. Valid.
Yeah,
I get it.
That's what was the Tim Burton Schumacher movies too. They were the villains were the big stars. The villains were Arnold or Danny DeVito or Jack Nicholson or Michelle Pfeiffer. And I mean Batman is he's in the mask, he's in the cape. So
yeah. Chris also says I mainly didn't like the casting or writing of The Dark Knight. Okay, not a fan of Dark Knight. That's cool. That's fine. Eckert took me out of the movie as Harvey and didn't feel any chemistry with Maggie as Rachel and didn't care when she died.
Yeah, I mean, her Rachel is different than the Rachel Dawes we get in this movie. I mean, not only just because it's different actors, they're played a little bit differently. So I can understand that. It is kind of jarring. It's one of those things where it's like, why wasn't Katie Holmes in the sequel? Like, and apparently a lot of it was because Tom Cruise didn't want her to
Tom
be.
Cruise didn't let her.
Yeah. So
yeah. Well, I also don't like Tom Cruise.
Top Gun Maverick's great though. It's a good movie.
That's okay. I'm good. Yeah, and Chris also says, I also couldn't stand the voice of Bale's Batman in The Dark Knight. It got really bad with the growling of his Batman voice.
Yeah.
It almost took me out of the movie. It was so bad. I will concede and say, yeah, that was a tad bit too much. It's almost like when you listen to Wanda throughout her time in the MCU, like how her accent just like slowly diminishes, and then it's just like, did she forget how to speak, with the Sokovian type accent? Yeah, it was just like, no.
Yeah, no, the voice definitely became kind of a parody of itself as we go. And then in The Dark Knight Rises, you had, Batman doing his growly voice, and you had Bane with his crazy voice, and it was bringing unintentional comedy to the franchise. But, still love those movies.
This is fair.
King B has a comment here about saying the actor everybody still wants for Dr. Doom, Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy would have been a great Dr. Doom, no doubt. But I got to say, I'm really interested to see RDJ play that character. I can't wait for that. It's my most anticipated movie for the next few years. As much as I love Superman, cannot wait. Superman's like 2.5 weeks away. If I could see Avengers Doomsday tomorrow, I would rather see that than Superman. So,
yeah. Well, I'm indifferent. I will let you know once that movie premieres.
Yeah, December of 2026, we think.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anything else from the chat that we should get to? Let's
Chris also says, I think RDJ would have been a better Harvey Dent Two-Face in The Dark Knight. Aaron Eckhart is a bad actor and was miscast, and he was one of the weakest performances in the movie. I will respectfully disagree. I actually enjoyed Aaron Eckhart's performance as Harvey Dent. I thought the ability to kind of switch from Harvey, who obviously was struggling in his own ways, but then when he became Two-Face, it was just like he really just like took it and ran with it, and just I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was a good performance to see like the evolution of one Harvey Dent, how Harvey Dent turned into Two-Face, because in comparison to Batman Forever, Two-Face was Two-Face. Like you didn't see that evolution. You didn't get that quote origin story, however small it may have been. It was just boom, that's who he is.
Yeah. I liked Aaron Eckhart in The Dark Knight. I mean, would Robert Downey Jr. be better? Yeah, he would be. But again, The Dark Knight came out in 2008. Iron Man also came out in 2008. I don't want to sacrifice the MCU for Two-Face.
Never. Yeah. No. Especially when what ended up happening to Two-Face at the end of, Dark Knight. So yeah, good call, RDJ. Good call.
Well, I don't think he was up for that character anyway, but
well, I know, but still, like, he made the right move to go with MCU as opposed to DC.
Yep. Brittany, any final thoughts on Batman Begins before we get out of here?
For someone who didn't care for it on the first watch, however long ago that was, I walked in open-minded. I gave it a second chance, third chance, whatever. I gave it a chance. And yeah, I do appreciate it a little bit more now that I've actually taken the time to really absorb the exposition of the whole story, and I can tolerate watching it again. But that being said, yeah, it's not as terrible as I thought it was.
Yeah,
still not my favorite.
For me, it's a movie. Batman Begins is a movie that just gets better every time I watch it, and I saw it opening weekend. And I remember when I saw it, it was like not packed and not a ton of people. And I was like, this is so weird that like people are not excited. And I should say that like I was a big fan of the Smallville, and Smallville showed like the season finale of season 4 of Smallville had like a 10-minute preview for Batman Begins. And I was excited about that before, like a month or two before the movie came out. So I was ready to go. And then I was surprised when I saw this movie, and I was like, why don't more people like this movie? And then eventually, like once The Dark Knight came out, everybody's like, oh, Batman Begins is pretty good too. And then now it's remembered a lot more fondly than it was back then. And so happy 30th anniversary to Batman Begins. happy 20th anniversary to Batman Forever. And
No, the other way around.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I messed it up. Totally messed it up. I'm not good with numbers. My God, that was terrible. Happy 20th anniversary to Batman Begins, and happy 30th anniversary to Batman Forever. You'd think I would get that right, but I blew it. So
it's all good.
Anyway, now that you know what we thought about Batman Forever and Batman Begins, we want to know what you thought about it. And Brittany, how can people let us know?
Well, just like Caine B. Johnson, Chris Malik, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Also Yesenia and Trisha, they joined us today in our live chat, and we encourage everyone to do the same for future pods. We really enjoy the engagement here, taking your questions, taking your comments, and just getting your feedback. It's always a great time when we have participation. So thank you to those who are in today's chat. We also encourage you all to subscribe to our YouTube channel as we're on the road to 500 subscribers. At present time, we are at 453. Yay! So let's keep those numbers going higher and tell everyone about us, right? You know, we got new content coming your way. We're going to be doing Ironheart very soon. We're also going to be doing Fantastic Four, Superman. We've got content coming your way this summer. We hope you join us. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button if you've enjoyed our pod about Batman Begins and Batman Forever. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you know the next time we go live. Lastly, also follow all of our social media links there in the description box down below, and check out our audio podcasts available to you on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow, give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us out. Yesenia, she's excited about the popcorn buckets, apparently, Justin. So
yeah, me too.
Your shorts.
Me too. Me too.
Yes, she's excited about Superman.
I'm trying to buy all of them. All of them. Lord. I have a lot of the figures. I'm going to start doing some shorts on the action figures pretty soon. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've got
bankruptcy.
I've got a lot. I don't have all of them. I've got a lot of them though. I'm trying to get all of them.
Oh Lord.
The Funko Pops, I got the Crypto Pop the other day. So yeah. So a lot of cool stuff coming your way. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
All the places that have podcasts, we should be there. So check us out, and we appreciate it. So thanks to Brittany once again. Thanks to all of you for watching. And so for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.